Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. I believe we're live on YouTube. It's wonderful that you all are able to join us. It's good to know that you are out there. I'm hoping that you're hearing us loud and clear. Please go ahead and let us know that you're hearing us live on YouTube. I'm assuming that Facebook is coming online soon. So please, I'm hoping that you're able to hear us live on YouTube, live on Facebook. And I want to say that I am so honored to be here with you once again, to be able to talk about our ancient African ancestors, to be able to practice our spirituality in the manner that would be recognizable to them at this time when so much else is unrecognizable to them. I am so pleased that you are here with us for Kemetic Ascension on April 11th, 2021. Let me go ahead and say to you that we actually are really interested in hearing about you. We want to hear about where you are, how long you've been part of this experience that we call the Kemetic Ascension from the Shrine of Ma'at. And it's exciting to be speaking to you from Harlem, but you can imagine last Ascension, it was even more exciting to be coming to you live from Ghana. So we have returned. We are continuing to do the work of the Shrine of Ma'at, and we're pleased that you have joined us. So go ahead and give us a powerful Kemetic shout out. Let us know where you are in the world and how long you have been partaking in Kemetic Ascension. Please let us know that you're able to hear us in the most distant places in the world and those places that are not too far away. It is so important for us to check in with each other and to hear from each other in these times when being socially distanced is the norm, when the Shrine of Ma'at is quiet all but for YouTube and Facebook. There aren't people here, but we know that there's so many of you out there. So we want to hear from you. Tell us, once again, where you are in the world and how long you have been partaking in Kemetic Ascension from the Shrine of Ma'at. And just go ahead, and this is also a good time as we are entering to remember to share this experience, to remember to tag your friends on Facebook, to share the link on YouTube, because as I know, you know that there are people that should be here that are not aware of this gathering, this bi-weekly gathering of people who are practicing Kemetic spirituality. Please go ahead and reach out to people. Each of you should reach about 3 or 4 people. Go ahead and reach out, because we are trying to expand our family, to expand the community of those people who are practicing ancient African spirituality. So please, are there any responses?
We are all over the place today. First, I want to say Akaba Atta, so that Cheryl and Twa'u so much for your donation. We really appreciate you. She's out in the DMV. We have someone new from Hawaii, Aloha, Shoots Dakine. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
I don't think we usually hear Hawaii. That's interesting. Yeah. Welcome, Ankin Ma'at to you.
Twa'u to Anjai Bryant for your donation. We really appreciate you. Welcome. Glad you're in the house.
Anjai is a regular with us these days, I tell you. It is amazing that you are there. Ankin Ma'at.
And we have Collins Kofi Gattuso from Ghana.
Go ahead.
We just left your homeland about a week ago, so it's great to see you.
And looking forward to making it our second homeland.
That's right.
So that perhaps you will regularly see us come to Kemetic Ascension from Ghana in just a short period of time.
Jason Holmes is here with us, another regular. We have Janessa Elena. Thank you for being here with us. Chris Bigby, Tony Walton, Eric O'Flaherty, John Tay Lee, another regular. Nebetcher Anna Hetep, another regular. Marcus Morgan from Queens. Woo! We recognize you.
where I was raised.
Holcomb, Tracy Ann,
as we used to call it, Q Borough Mad Thorough.
And of course, we have Jehuti Mess the Fourth. OG.
Jehuti Mess,
OG the Fourth.
OG Jehuti Mess the Fourth is what he has.
I think we just messed up his name today. But he's in the house. He's from the University of Harlem since day one. Oh, wow. Okay. So one of our initiates who is in Nigeria is here with us, Uju Ibekwe.
Wonderful.
And,
welcome, Sinette. Welcome.
We have our Abut Sashat in the house.
Abut Sashat in the house, coming out of Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. John Taylor is in Seattle, Washington, having her baby right now.
Oh. Do you mean right now or close to now? We want new members, but I don't know if they need to be that new.
David Wisdom on YouTube from St. Louis, Missouri. Good to see you. We have Tracy from Indianapolis.
Go ahead, go ahead.
See you. Demetrius is also out in Connecticut. So you have a family out there, Abut Sashat. Libra Moon, you're asking where you can donate. You can always do it through Cash App at $ Shrine of Ma'at, or you can do PayPal via Ma'at at shrineofma'at.org. So thank you so much, Twa'u, for your offerings. And and out in Boston for 4 years.
Boston, huh?
Wonderful, yes. Waseret Twa'u for your myrrh offering, and I'm glad you're in the house, Abut Waseret.
Abut Waseret, one of the priestesses of the Shrine of Ma'at.
We have initiates in the house, Tashi Smart.
Wonderful.
Out in
So that Tashi, how you doing? How you
Carolina. Deborah Holcomb is in the house. Shannon Jones. Coben, one of our regulars for 4 years out in Flint, Michigan.
doing? Wonderful.
We have Rochester, New York in the house, Edsel Peterson. Anthony V.S. Ants from Charlotte, North Carolina. Originally from New York City. Yes, and Andre is repping South Jersey.
Go ahead.
Janessa's from San Francisco. Wonderful. Shannon Jones is in the house. We have Larry Morant, another regular from Connecticut. I see Abut Sashat is trying to raise the Connecticut population up in here.
Yeah, I think that we expected her to do that.
Brandy Bean is here. Let's see. Bill Andrew Rogers from Guyana.
Wow,
Your
wow.
family's
My
on-
maternal homeland.
Deborah Kennedy. Sinette, how are you?
Sinette, how are you? How are you?
Marcus Morgan moved from North Carolina in Winston-Salem. Corvez Nared is here. Brandy Bean is here. Baba Heru, Ankara Semaj Se Pata.
Baba Heru. We owe you a visit. We said that now that we're back, we need to come in and chat with you, come see how you're doing. You'll see us very shortly. Ankan Ma'at to our elder Baba Heru. Please give him some ankhs and myrrh. Remember that his journey is our journey, and so it's amazing whenever he's in the house.
Yes. We have more people from Michigan, Ragnar the Warlock. We have Culver City, California, Trinity Bailey. Phoenix, where my family, part of my family's from, Pseudo Charlotte is here. Another regular. More people repping Ghana. Welcome, George Kwame.
Seems like we went to Ghana and there are a bunch of folks that are there, huh?
Yes, and Marcus Morgan said that he saw us during a tour he was doing with Infandici at the museum in Brooklyn.
Wonderful.
Okay, let's see. Who else? Michelle Mendez. Wonderful, another initiate. Good to see
Ankan
you.
Ma'at, Sanet. Ankan Ma'at.
Cortia in the house, another regular. Kaika. Great to see you today.
Ankan Ma'at, Sanet. Hailing from the Temple of Anu. Wonderful to see you.
Chukwuma Igbo, good to see you. Glad you're here. We have Rock Camp L from Dallas, Texas.
Wonderful.
We have Katrina Majette, another regular from Newcastle, Delaware.
It'd be nice if someone would stop the alarm for their car. You know we're in New York City, right? Right outside, there's an alarm going off.
There's Lesegu Sengfei, and I believe he's from South Africa. I recognize the
That name is familiar, yes.
So welcome. Glad you're here. Robert James from London, UK. Welcome.
Wonderful. Welcome. From
Maxwell
across the pond.
Henry from Dominican Republic. Wonderful. And Twa'u Sinette Tracy for your love offerings. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Ooh, let's see. Ma'akara and Neb Mental. Welcome. Good to see you. We have Travis White from San Anselmo, California. Hope I said that correctly. Nebuchadnezzar Anahetep is from Columbus, Ohio. We have Jean Michel from Suriname. Yes, wonderful.
South America's in the house today, huh? Wonderful, wonderful.
Sinette Demetra from Douglasville, GA.
A regular.
Yes.
Ankan Ma'at and an initiate.
Gavin Stokes, another regular. Good to see you.
Ankan Ma'at.
We have Kenneth Telly from
Another initiate.
Nashville, Tennessee. Amun Setinu.
Ankan Ma'at.
So he's currently in the ATL visiting Sinette Lori. Or we're visiting Sinette Lori. Wonderful. He'll be back in New York tonight. Sinette Sandra Arrington, BK in the house.
Wow.
Olivia McGrew. Great to see you out in VA. Wow.
A lot of folks, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of folks.
Or Houston, Texas, the Shran Balka on YouTube. Great to see you. And King Nebuchadnezzar from Brooklyn, New York. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
So some folks that are not too far away and others that are very far away. I think the closest is likely Jehuti Mess, who is just a few blocks from here. And then we have a regular from South Africa. So you know that that's quite a distance from here.
Twa'u Demetra for your donation. We appreciate you so much. And we have Trinidad and Tobago in the house.
Go ahead.
Tahuti and Naksake. Nice.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Joanne Jahiadisa out in Columbus, Georgia.
Can I say that it is amazing to hear so many people that are partaking in Kemetic Ascension, who are actually gathering together. You have heard us say, yes, I see a message from Abutsashat. Yes. Did we say Sinette Olivia? I didn't hear that
Olivia
name.
McGraw, is she there?
You said Olivia?
If I didn't, I
She's an
apologize,
initiate.
but
Yeah,
yes.
she is an initiate. That's right.
Yes, she is. Yes, I mentioned she's from the VA.
That's right. Didn't I just see her posting workout pictures on the page? She's getting fit. She inspired me, boy, I'm telling you. So
More Detroit in the house, Mr. Win-Win. Good to see you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can I say to you all, Ankan Ma'at, I am so honored that you've gathered. You have probably heard me say, if you're a regular participant of Kemetic Ascension, a regular part of the family, you have probably heard me say that for so many of you who have been on this journey before you met the Shrine of Ma'at, you probably were mostly on that journey alone. So many people who are practicing what some people like to call alternative spirituality. Some people would actually even say African spirituality. Do it in secret. And that is really difficult. You have to maintain your own focus, your own discipline, but it's difficult to be the one with everyone else doing the same thing. And so one of the reasons why Anika and I decided that we should put together Kemetic Ascension and even broadcast it online is because we believe that something else happens when we do it together. We were those folks who were sort of on our own. I remember being on my own, kind of in college, really in college feeling very alone for many times. The community that I was connected to was here in New York City and, was 5 hours away by bus. So I really had to struggle to be part of the Kemetic community in those days. It was very difficult. And I know that feeling alone, it often felt like I was speaking a language that no one knew. And so when we gather together and celebrate each other and worship the divine power that comes from the Neteru, recognize our ancestors, something else happens. You are not alone. You are not the strange one. And the more that you shine, you will allow the rest of the folks around you to shine.
I just want to give a shout out to Sinette Monique Colbert. We miss you too. She's out there repping Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm always stalking you and your desserts online. You've been driving me crazy for years now. I don't know when you're going to finally send something my way. Cleo Ford is in the house from Queens via Barbados. Good
Wonderful,
to see you.
wonderful.
Derek
my
Grant,
eyes.
good to see you. Robert James is in the house. Philip Green is in the house. And thank you for the stars. Yes, please. People on Facebook, give us some stars. We really appreciate your stars. They are donations towards the shrine. So Michelle Mendez and Deborah Kennedy, thank you so much. Twa'u, twa'u, twa'u. Continue to send those stars if you can. It's really appreciated. And we're being asked when we're coming to Trinidad and Tobago.
Listen, if you are able to create an opportunity for us to come there to speak to folks, we would come. Definitely. I have not been to Trinidad. Neither of us have been to Trinidad and Tobago yet. And I think we would be absolutely ecstatic to come. And, we're getting to the point where we are going to, hopefully very shortly, start opening up different centers of the Shrine of Ma'at. So we would absolutely love for to be given the opportunity to go to other places and to meet other people who hear the call of their ancient African ancestors. That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And there was a question, what does Ankh and Ma'at mean? It means life of balance. Sometimes you hear Ankh and Ma'at, which means life in balance. You could say either one. So Ankh and Ma'at or Ankh and Ma'at, life in balance or life of balance.
And you should know that coming out of the Shrine of Patal, we used to simply say Hetepu, which is kind of like blessings to each other. And then our elder suggested that we actually say Ankh and Ma'at a few years ago. And it reminds us of the necessity, of the importance of maintaining sacred balance, of finding yourself to be a vessel of divine energy. And so I think that many of the Kemetic communities, not just the Shrine of Ma'at, but many Kemetic communities have now gotten to the point where they're heeding the call of our elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata, and saying Ankh and Ma'at. So that's what you're hearing. So I want to really salute you all for coming forward. It is amazing that you are here. Don't forget to absolutely send this, share this, tag people that you know should be here. We are honored that you have taken a portion of your amazing Sunday to spend it with us. And like I said, it almost feels strange to come to you this way because last time we were sitting in 90 degrees outside in Ghana, West Africa, and that was amazing. It was absolutely amazing to be able to do that. And now we're back in New York City. It's not cold, but it ain't 90 degrees. It's like upper 50s. And we are looking to actually do a lot in Ghana. Stay tuned. You're going to hear about the things that the Shrine of Ma'at will be doing in Ghana. Just as a heads up, we're probably going to be opening a shrine there. And we will likely be assisting in opening a museum there. So this is really, really exciting, and I hope that you will be on this journey with us as well. We really believe that being able to return to the continent, being asked to come to assist in bringing ancient African spirituality to West Africa, the place where we were stolen from, so many of us being diasporan Africans, is absolutely one of the greatest honors that we have ever been beholden to. And so you're going to hear a lot more about that. And you're probably going to see us coming to you from Ghana quite a bit as well. So let me say Ankh and Ma'at to you. Live your life in divine balance. So as we begin, you know that we usually begin in the manner that reminds us that this moment, this time, in this form, we are allowed, we are capable. In fact, it is important for us to be vessels of divine energy and to remember just what we are made of. We begin anything important with the ritual that marks the lineage of our shrine, the ritual that was given to us, put into its current configuration, put back together by our elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Sepata, the Ankh Man. So we are going to do what has been called for so many decades, the opening of the way. So please, gather with us. Come together with us. This is not theater. You're supposed to be doing it with us. Stand in the beginning at the outset in the position of adoration. That means that you're going to stand with your left foot just a bit astride forward, like you've taken a step. And your hands are going to be exposed in front of you, because this is the way that you are able to witness and also to transmit divine energy, your divine energy that pervades all places and spaces in the world. So put your hands out in front of you, and your left hand is going to be a bit further forward, and your right hand is going to be a bit further back, similar to your feet. And you can even have your left hand be a bit higher than your right hand. This is a position of adoration that you have seen our ancient Kemetic ancestors replicate on walls and on papyrus for thousands of years. From here, we'll take a deep breath that allows us to chant the word of divine everlasting life, Ankh. Let's begin.
Truck in bed het.
On a truck in bed het.
Nuke in bed het.
Nuke in bed het. On a truck happy.
On a truck happy.
Nuke happy.
Nuke happy.
Twa winter.
On a truck circuit.
On a truck circuit.
Nuke circuit.
Nuke circuit. On a truck kebsenu.
On a truck kebsenu.
Nuke kebsenu.
Nuke kebsenu.
Twa winter.
On a truck ast.
On a truck ast.
Nuke ast.
Nuke ast. On a truck set.
On a truck set.
Nuke set.
Nuke set.
Twa winter.
On a truck neat.
On a truck neat.
Nuke neat.
Nuke neat. On a truck dwamutef.
On a truck dwamutef.
Nuke dwamutef.
Nuke dwamutef.
Twa winter. Return to front.
On the truck newt.
On the truck newt.
Nuke newt.
Nuke newt. On the truck geb.
On the truck geb.
Nuke geb.
Nuke geb.
Twa winter. On the truck shoe.
On the truck shoe.
Shoe. Shoe. Shoe. Shoe. Nuke shoe.
On the truck tef newt.
On the truck tef newt.
Tef
newt. Tef newt. Tef newt. Tef newt. Nuke tef newt. Twa winter. On the truck pout in Teru. Nuke pout in Teru. On the truck pout in boot in Teru. Nuke and boot in Teru. Twa winter. Twa winter. I messed up a little bit there. Only working on a few hours sleep. I want to honestly say to you that you should be doing the opening of the way with us. I know that some of you are going to say, how can I learn the opening of the way? And if you're asking that question, you already have the keys to do so. Go ahead and look at the former, the earlier, the older Kemetic Ascension recordings, and you're going to see fairly close to the beginning of Ascension, we always do the opening of the way. And you'll also see the words on our Facebook page. Take a look for them, and you'll be able to learn how to do the opening of the way, which I say we must say Dwa tu Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samaj Se Pata, for bringing it into its configuration. It is actually something that some might consider new, because our Kemetic ancestors didn't do the opening of the way in this manner. But you must recognize that it is so imbued, so constructed from the principles, from the symbols, from the divine forces that our ancestors described exactly in the way that the ritual has been constructed, that the movements have been constructed, that it is probably more appropriate to say that it was put back into this form rather than it is something that is entirely new. And so this is a powerful, powerful way for us to remember that you are a vessel of divine energy. You are divine. If you recognize just what you are made of, that you are divine, none of those things that are challenging you are insurmountable. None of those things that continue to beset you, that continue to anger you, that continue to sadden you, that continue to perplex you, are beyond your ability to surmount. That is why doing the opening of the way is so incredibly important, because it reminds you exactly who you are. In many ways, we are like an extremely muscular dude sitting in the gym, struggling with the 5-pound weights. And everybody is staring at this dude, muscle bound, and saying, "Why are you struggling?" But for some reason, this muscle-bound man hasn't been told that he's muscle-bound. He thinks that he is absolutely unable to lift the weights. Someone needs to explain to him who he is. It is of critical importance for us to recognize just how powerful we are. Because if you recognize how powerful you are, those challenges that have been put in front of your community, sometimes by people who seek to subjugate and destroy us, those challenges can be overcome. They can be. But as long as you think that the world simply happens to you, and that you are not at cause, that you are not at the source, that you are not the divine being living a human existence, then you will feel like things are moving too fast. You'll feel like people and plans have been set against you and that you have no control over them. Well, I am here to tell you, I am here to remind you that you are divine. And that all of those things that you need and want in your life can come into existence. You just have to hone your divine ability, your divine birthright, in order to grasp hold of them. And so please do the opening of the way before you do anything of importance. And you have probably heard us say that we believe that your day, each and every day, is important. Do the opening of the way when you rise to remind you of how powerful you are. So, with that, we usually go into what we call Hesi. What is Hesi? Usually, BC, before coronavirus, people would be in this room answering my question. Now I'm talking to Anika and talking to you, and there's a lag, so I ask a question and then I gotta wait. Just understand that when I say what is Hesi, you should know that Hesi is the way that your ancient Kemetic ancestors absolutely galvanized divine energy in harmony, in song. That is Hesi. And I know that our people have been so inspired by gospel. And I want you to know that our people have been inspired by divine song long before the term gospel was ever conceived. For thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of years, our people absolutely recognized how powerful it was to sing divine song. And so I want you to recognize that this is what we have always done. And so today what we decided to do, I should say to you, I'm going to call Anika out. Anika is crafting something new, but we're not quite ready to display it yet. So it'll come soon.
I might test out parts of it. We'll see.
What'd you say?
So I might test out parts of it. We'll see.
Well, soon. Soon.
Today. We'll see.
Today? What?
We're gonna start with Webony today,
Okay.
but I might add to it. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. The Hessie that we're going to do is an oldie but goodie. It's, when I say oldie but goodie, it's a Shrine of Ma'at oldie. We actually authored it ourselves. It's not something that came with us from the Shrine of Ptah. But clearly, we think, and you know what, one of the things we need to do is we need to go to Baba Heru and just engage in Shrine of Ma'at Hessie with him. Because I think that he would enjoy the Hessie that we have created, that we have added to the corpus of Hessie that the Shrine of Ptah was doing when we were coming up in the Shrine of Ptah. Those beautiful tunes that Baba Heru crafted himself and others who were in the Shrine of Ptah crafted. There are those that remind us of when we were young Kamites. But this one is a little bit newer, but it's one that we've been doing in the Shrine of Ma'at for a while. Sometimes we call it just Webony. And it is absolutely one that we think is beautiful. And let me just go through it with you. It's Webony in Heru, Webony in Heru, Webony in Heru, Webony in Heru, Nukpu Makeru. And then we usually say Ankh and Ma'at. Or you want to do that 3 times?
Ankh and Ma'at.
Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Ma'at. So it's usually Webony in Heru 3 times, and then Nukpu 4 times. 4 times. It is 4 times. And then Nukpu Makeru 2 times? Mm-hmm. She just adding these numbers. We ain't doing no 4 times and 2 times. There's no reason why we can't do it 4 times and 2 times. Because I'm teasing her. There's no reason why we can't do it 4 times and 2 times. But I don't remember doing it 4 times and 2 times.
Go with the flow.
I can go with the flow. I think that we can do that. So we're going to do Webony en Heru 4 times, and then Nukpu Makeru. What does that mean? Webony en Heru means rise, and it has a dual meaning. So recognize it can mean rise with the day, right? Maybe this is a song that a parent can sing to a child when they are like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go to school. Or one of those days that you wake up and it's gray like it is today, and you know you got to get up. Get into Hessie to galvanize that energy to do the things you need to do. So it's Webony in Heru, rise in the day, or it could be more literal in saying rise in Heru, right? So that you are actually using the Heru energy in that sense. And then it's Nukpu Makeru, which means I am truer voice. I am truer voice. And then it goes into Ankh and Ma'at, which we've talked about just a moment ago. Which is sort of like life in balance, okay? So that is the Hessie. We're going to do Webony in Heru 4 times, and because Anika deems it, we're going to do Nukpu Makeru twice, and then Ankh and Ma'at. And we do Ankh and Ma'at. 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 Webony, so it's 4 times Ankh and Ma'at. That's how it goes, okay? Are you ready?
4-2-4.
It's 4-2-4. Let's do it. Okay. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Nukpu Makeru. Nukpu Makeru. in Ma'at. That's 4. Webony, that's 4, right? In Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Nukpu Makeru. Nukpu Makeru. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Webony in Heru. Nukpu Makeru. Nukpu Makeru. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at. Ankh in Ma'at.
5.
We're done. So I just want you to know that it is so important to have a tune on your tongue when you are going about your day. It allows you to absolutely live a life in balance when so many other things on the outside may feel like they are out of balance. And so that is why we attempt to bring you Hesi that's practical, things that you can actually get accustomed to. Hopefully they're harmonious, even though I know that the Hemnetter and Tepi Jabari Osaze doesn't have the most harmonious voice. I still believe that it doesn't matter whether you can sing or not. Because when you have these tunes in your heart and on your tongue, you are able to remind yourself what you are. And don't we need to do that when we go about lives in this difficult, difficult world? So, please, make sure that you're taking these Hesi. Don't just sing them and chant them with us every 2 weeks. Apply them in your life. And I would love to see you do that. In fact, I would love to see you post a video on Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube, or YouTube, with you singing one of our Hesi. Extra points if you do Webony in Heru. And tag us so that we know that these Hesi are also in your soul. Go ahead, put them on Instagram, put them on Facebook, put them on YouTube, and tag us so that we know that you're using them.
Shout out and much mer to the Temple of Anu. I see that the Hemet Inter and Bada Ma'at is in the house.
Ankin Ma'at.
And she's posting the words to the Hesi.
Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at. To our dear divine sister who we haven't seen in listen, this pandemic has been rough. Usually we say we don't see them enough, and we may see them a few times a year, right? This pandemic has been really, really rough. We have not seen them. I will say that they came to the last coronation. I think that's the last time we saw them. And we were so honored that they came during a pandemic to recognize, to give love to our initiates. We got another one coming up. Did we let them know?
You let them know right now.
Oh my goodness, I'm in trouble again. I stay in trouble. We actually have our next celebration of our initiates is going to occur on June 12th, right? Or is that the 13th? That's the Saturday. June 12th. And we are going to, and it's going to be at 2 p.m.
Yes.
Right? June 12th at 2 p.m. Once again in Central Park. We're going to send you an official request for you to appear. I'm speaking directly to the great lady of the Temple of Anu and to the Temple of Anu folks, because it is so important that when our families grow, that our siblings also are there to see when the nuclear families grow. Because as we have initiates coming through the Shrine of Ma'at, We have over 30 of them coming through. That when they join the family of the Shrine of Ma'at, they have a larger extended family that they can access, that they can enjoy. And I know that when they're new members in any of the shrines that we are affiliated with, it's fun. Because everybody's like, new people to play with, new people to know. Where do you live? What do you do? What do you eat? Do you have a recipe? What's your favorite juice concoction? It's just like new people for you to experience. Because for so many of us who are on this journey, we did this primarily on our own. And that is difficult. That is difficult. I remember those days. I remember the days before Anika and I were together. When I was that strange kooky guy. I'm sure they just thought of me as the campus revolutionary, because you could describe me that way too. But it was lonely. It was lonely because I was the one that was holding aloft in some ways the traditions of ancient Africa. And I was amongst people who were definitely, as we would say today, woke. Because the folks that I spent time with when I was a young person at Cornell, we were all focused on the fact that we were trying to become the people we were supposed to be at great odds from European systems that sought to keep our people back. But even then, I was unusual. And I remember even people that I was involved with, the ladies that I was involved with, would say strange things. One of them said to me when I had a really, really impactful dream that I still think about today. She said, "It's demons, baby, it's demons. Just pray to Jesus." And I remember thinking at that time, pray to Jesus? Who do you think you're talking to? That one has been out the bag for a long time. You tell me to pray to Jesus? I wonder what my face looked like when she saw when I looked at her. Because I was distressed. It was a dream that needed evaluation and analysis. I understand the dream now. But when she said that it's demons, I was like, is you crazy? It's not no demons. Had to get Ebonical on her. It's not no demons. This is a message that I am supposed to receive. Believing that, that being reached by the divine in a manner in which ancient African principles and symbols are being used to download information in you is the work of demons, is exactly why our people are still, in so many instances, worshiping a Tom Who Jesus with blonde hair and blue eyes, or the kind of Tom Who that you would see at your local Whole Foods. This is ridiculous. So that was a challenge. I was alone. So when we have these celebrations and we have new members of the family join, it reminds me that I'm not alone and you're not alone. It was going to be years from the time that I heard that demons were plaguing me in my dreams. It would be years before I would actually spend time at the Shrine of Ptah. Years. We're talking about 8 years. 8 years. I spent time at Asaraset Society and then I went to the Shrine of Ptah. You don't have to be alone. There's a community of people, of practitioners that are here to laugh and to cry and to celebrate with you. So, please make sure that you also, even if you are not one of our initiates, you can come to our celebration. Just make sure you're masked and you're going to stay socially distant. But you can come and celebrate those people who are now becoming full members of the Shrine of Ma'at. Okay. So at this point in our gathering, we actually go into what we call a word from the Sebayit. But before I do that, I like to actually talk about things that are happening in the world that we are all connected to, all impacted by, that absolutely we should look at from an ancient Kemetic lens. And I just want to say that I haven't seen a person who hasn't been talking about very popular people. The death of hip-hop artist DMX and the death of Prince Philip of Britain. And I want to put it in perspective a little bit. He's not. And I'm going to put this in perspective a little bit. Take a look at the Daily News cover from yesterday. The Prince and the rapper. It's interesting how they kind of juxtapose them. One is lower, one is higher. The writing on one is in one color and in the other one. Sorrow from Britain to Yonkers. Beloved royal is gone at age 99. And brilliant but troubled musician dies at 50. I think they were trying to be balanced, but I do believe that they were trying to make it seem like they were different sides of a coin.
Only be balanced if they say the prince was racist.
I think that we're going to go into that. We're going to go into that. So clearly we were talking about these things. And I have to say to you, as a brother of a certain age, a brother that came up listening to hip hop in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I'm going to say to you that DMX was, his lyrics were grittier. He had a gravelly voice. He would go slow and then fast and then start barking and growling. And listen, when you heard DMX, you realize that almost no one else sounded like DMX. And he really shot to the forefront of the music industry when he was putting forth at least his first 3 albums. I think his 3rd album was his highest selling album. And I know that over the years, that They Don't Know Who We Be song, I don't even know if that's the full name. Anika just be bouncing, waiting to jump up. Cause she used to be bouncing. So this artist was loved in our community, but we also were concerned to absolutely see that his life was difficult before he became a popular artist. You probably heard that he struggled with abuse at the hands of his mother, and that he had struggled with being forced into being a Jehovah's Witness, and he also lived on the street and was homeless all the time. It seems like when he was homeless, he would sometimes rob people, and he also tended to have some sort of affinity, which is probably where the growling and barking came from. This is where he started singing "At Me Dog," right? Growling and barking. By the way, a lot of other artists growl and bark today. They got that from DMX. I don't know anybody that was doing that before DMX was. I don't know anybody that's doing that before him. He was really influential. So influential that he parlayed musical talents into movie roles. But we also began to hear that he had a problem dealing with his demons, dealing with his own personal challenges, and that he was addicted to drugs, and he would engage in bizarre, erratic behavior. I remember one time I heard that he was at the airport pretending to be a federal official and borrowing people's cars for joyrides. Cars that he could. But clearly DMX had a troubled existence. Released from prison, and I heard that he was absolutely struggling with addiction again. I was worried about him, almost like I knew him. Rapper from Yonkers and Mount Vernon, not far from where we are right here in Harlem. I knew him. And so to hear that at the age of 50, and was in a vegetative state in a coma, this was painful for so many of us. And it's interesting to me that in our community, there are probably more people who are mourning DMX than Prince Philip. And I would almost argue that's the right way to be, because he's the one that's like us. But I have to say that there are more solemn memorials of Prince Philip this weekend than there are of DMX. And they've made it, he was a magnificent, the royal of Britain, and that we should recognize that he lived a life in service and all those things. Well, listen, as a historian, as someone who absolutely voraciously imbibes on news, there's other stuff I know about Prince Philip. Prince Philip has been known for many years, say things that are disgustingly racist. And it's interesting to me that I didn't hear any of those things recalled in his memorials this weekend. And I'm not saying that when someone passes that you shouldn't have reverence, but as a person of African descent, that someone who was connected to British royalty, to one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful European nation that was a colonialist, that was an enslaver, why should I look at the British royals like they're mine? People say to me so many times, are you going to watch the wedding? Are you going to watch this? Are you interested in looking at the... There with British royalty, as if we didn't have monarchies that were older than those in Europe. And these monarchies, specifically Queen Elizabeth, is connected to this history. Are you familiar with the things that Prince Philip said? Here's a quick recap. In 1986, when he went on a visit to China, he took something like 2,500 trips in his role as the royal consort of Britain. Traveled all over the world and often said things that were racist or regrettable. He said in China in 1986 that Beijing was ghastly, and he told British students that were there that if they stayed there much longer, they'd all be slitty-eyed. That's what he said. On the same trip, he said, if it has 4 legs and is not a chair, has wings and is not an aeroplane, or swims and is not a submarine, the Cantonese will eat it. How dare you? Have you ever seen the dietary proclivities of the British? When you go to London, some of the stuff that they eat, you're like, why would anyone eat that? He has no right whatsoever to critique anyone's dietary interest. But that's the kind of stuff that he was reported to say. When he was actually talking to a British student in 1998 who had actually spent time in Papua New Guinea, he said to them, you managed not to get eaten then. Referring to the natives of Papua New Guinea as cannibals. When he actually, in 2002, spent time with the Australian Aborigine people, he said, do you still throw spears at each other? This kind of casual, supposedly innocuous white racism is something that we need to call out. And let's not even forget that when he actually greeted Olusegun Obasanjo, who was then the president of Nigeria, in his traditional robes, he actually said to President Obasanjo, you look like you're ready for bed. This was his history. Going around the world insulting people of color. Let's not forget this as they valorize this 99-year-old man. And I don't want to make it sound like this is strictly a critique of an individual. We also have to recognize that when we think about white supremacy, when we think about violent, racist colonialists, you must include the British there as well. They had the largest empire. I want to connect this directly to Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, who some people think of as their grandmother. Not my grandmother. Think about this for a second. I love to ask Queen Elizabeth about how she became queen. I want you to recognize that she was absolutely still a princess. She was on a trip to Kenya with her husband, and that was when her father, King George, passed away, and she became the queen. Well, you might ask, well, why were they at the hotel in Kenya? Because the British were still brutalizing the Kenyans as colonial subjects. And you should know that in 1950 and 1951, the Kenyans absolutely rose up in brutal guerrilla warfare. They actually created a group called the Mau Mau. The Mau Mau. You should look at the Mau Mau. And look at its founder, Dedan Kimathi. Dedan Kimathi. bear with me as I become the historian for a moment instead of the priest. Because you have to know this stuff. When everyone around you is talking about Prince Harry and talking about, oh, how wonderful it is to look at the royal family and excited, remind them about what they did to the Kenyans as they took 1.5 million Kenyans and put them in concentration camps and tortured them. This was during the time of Queen Elizabeth. Philip came to the throne. Independence until 1963. So in some of that blood, not just in their lineage, not just on their family tree, but on their hands. Why are you saluting them? When you see the cannon blast, the gun salutes for Prince Philip, recognize that that is a symbol of white supremacist, violent military power. Take a listen to this old veteran of the Mau Mau talking about what it was like being a member of the Mau Mau during the time that the British were besieging Kenya. Take a listen.
In this country, Africans were treated by the colonial administration purely like slaves, and that is why they thought, why should we be treated in this manner in our own country? We wanted, one, freedom, two, return or recovery. I was given the job of
that must be on the old.
and that
if they can hear me, they
we decided to go along the Mau Mau freedom struggle.
The objective of this secret society is to drive all white men out of Kenya. But the Mau Mau strike not only at Europeans, their own people are often among their victims.
It was not a matter of killing people. When you go to war, war is war. Traitors, the British administration, to beat us and to kill us, and those were enemies. Many of us went to the forest. There were fights in the villages, there were fights in the forest, there were fights everywhere. The British bombed the forest, they bombed the villages where they thought Mau Mau lived. And when you get into that kind of organization, you expect to be caught and to be put into jail or detention, or rather to be shot dead. The governor ordered that all people suspected to be Mau Mau adherents be arrested and put into detention camp. And others were surrounded in the villages with barbed wire. It was a concentration camp. Women were raped, people were killed, children died of hunger. I was arrested in 1953. 7 years of my life were wasted in prison. In some camps, not all of them, people were beaten almost every morning. I was beaten until I prayed God the Creator to kill me, not to see it tomorrow morning. I was released in 1960. We became independent in 1963. I feel it was worth it, even if I died. And this country become free for other people that I left behind. I would be very happy in heaven.
I want you to hear that he said that even if he died, he would be happy to have absolutely worked so that his people would be free. Why is it that when we hear about the British royals, no one talks about the excesses of the British royal crown and the violent things that they did? Why do we not hear that? In fact, even African United States are willing to actually call out slave owners, enslavers in the United States without recognizing that many of them, before they were Americans, they were British. That's how they got the system of enslavement. It was the British that brought it here. Yes, the British abolished it before the United States. But we have to recognize that their hands are bloody. Why are we celebrating them? The British royals are a vestige of white supremacist colonialism. They will not get celebrations from me. And while I am not celebrating the death of Prince Philip, I will certainly not light a candle for it. The candle will have the letters DMX on it. So, let's move. Let's move. I want to talk today about a document that comes to us from that genre of literature of ancient Kemet known as Seba'it literature. Seba'it literature is the great wisdom literature of Kemet. They comprise one of the earliest corpuses of writing in the world. In fact, you know that I have constantly said, you have heard this in Kemetic Ascension, the world's earliest book, the world's earliest complete book is part of this genre called Seba'it, which means wisdom teachings. And today I want to come from a book known as the Book of Phebhor. The Book of Phebhor. Please say Phebhor with me. It comes from of Phebhor. And I know that some of you, most of you perhaps, have never heard of this book. And one of the reasons why even the most astute, the most connected to history among us have not heard of this text is because it is generally not called this. The title of this book, as the Book of Phebhor, comes from the work of Maulana Karenga, who rightly connects it to the person that seems to have written sections of it. But if you're going to do research on it, Unfortunately, you are going to have to look for the term papyrus in Singer. Papyrus in Singer. And that's the reason why you probably have never heard of Phebhor. Recognize papyrus is a papyrus with some of the oldest sections of Sabaite teachings, and it clearly is something that a scribe was copying. So the teachings are much older, but the scribe was copying several sections of this great wisdom literature. The copy itself is likely from somewhere around the 2nd century of the Common Era, 2 CE, which some people used to call AD. And it's written in Demotic. It is not in hieratic. So you can see it's in that script-looking writing. The beginning and the end of the papyrus are missing. They've been destroyed likely. But you should know that even in its fragmentary form, it is 241 inches long and 10.5 inches tall. This is a really large book. The main portion of it is at the Dutch Museum of Antiquities. It is not in Kemetic. But there is actually a segment of it, a few pieces of it, that are here in the United States at the Penn Museum in Philadelphia. I think that's very interesting because they actually didn't know that they had fragments of this until the 1970s when they translated it. And they realized that the museum had purchased these pieces in 1910. And so that is very, very interesting that they had it for 60 years and didn't know what the heck they had. You should also know that the large segment of it was sold in around 1895 in a village today known as Akmin by a French businessman to the Dutch photographer and antiquities dealer known as Jan Herman Insinger. You should know that Insinger couldn't translate it. Insinger was just the Tom who purchased it. Why should we call it the Papyrus Insinger? It should be known, at least sections of it, because there are several books that are in it. Sections of it should be known as the Book of Phebhor, just as Maulana Karenga has explained. And that is a powerful, powerful thing. It includes over 800 favorite ones, which I'm not going to talk much about today, is a crocodile does not die from worrying, it dies from hunger. I'm not going to even go into the deeper meaning of that one. I want you to think about what that means. A crocodile does not die from worrying, it dies from hunger. I have used that one myself on the folks in my life who are stressed out and are struggling and not doing the things they need to do for themselves in order to move forward. So, feel free to use that one too. Go ahead and pick up a copy of the Book of Phebhor. So, draw from its great wisdom. Five of them. And look at what their deeper meanings are. Because I believe that if you read from Sabaite literature, what you will find is that your ancestors left a body of writing to assist you in living a divinely balanced life. They wanted you to understand how to live in Ma'at, how to be a guardian of the scales, how to be a vessel of divine harmony. So, let's look at one of these maxims. I'll read it to you here. If a beam is cut longer than its right measure, the excess is cut off. If the wind blows beyond its right measure, it wrecks the ship. Those who apply the right measure in all good things are not blamed. The nectar of just measure has created a balance in order to establish right measure on earth. The nectar placed the heart deep in the body for the right measure of its owner. Thus, if those who are learned are not balanced, their learning is of little use, and a fool who knows not balance does not escape misfortune. Pride and arrogance are the destruction of their owner. But those who are gentle in character create their own fate. I think this is powerful. I think this is powerful. It speaks to the need to live in balance. It speaks to the fact that we must be measured in all things. That we must recognize that doing too little is bad. Be balanced. I love this particular maxim. And it even challenged people who are attacking the Kemetic community that are doing nothing more than studying history or the language and are not practitioners. Because some of them think that they can read books and then critique people who also read books but are also trying to be those people who are inspired to live and to practice in the way that our Kemetic ancestors do. It says, thus, if those who are learned are not balanced, those not balanced does not escape misfortune. That is powerful. They're saying you could read all you want, you might still be a fool. And misfortune will befall you. So it is of critical importance for us in the scales that we are doing the work of Ma'at, that we are assisting those around us, that we are maintaining the relationships around us, that we are doing the work of our ancestors around us. This is important. And I love the analogy of a beam being a measure. Let's go to the next one. Take a look at this one. Now, I guarantee you that if you're not familiar with this one, you are already going to be speaking this one. You know, one of the reasons why I read Sabaite literature and the literature of ancient Kemet is because I was raised as a Christian, right? Most of us were. And I know that there are people in my life that quote the Bible like it is literally the blueprint of all of human civilization. And I always have to remind them that there are earlier texts of wisdom. But how many of us can actually cite the earlier text of wisdom? How many of us are able to do that? We should be. We should be. And so listen to this one. I guarantee if you listen to it, you will be reciting it. Let's read. It is better for a serpent to be in the house than a fool who comes often. Wait a minute. Did you hear that one? That's powerful. It is better for a serpent to be in the house than a fool who comes often. How many of y'all got fools darken your doorstep on a regular basis that cause calamity? You could just read that one sentence and say, what? Our Kemetic ancestors are trying to warn us about those people who are near us that either intentionally or unintentionally harm to us and themselves. Those the fool are drawn into wrongdoing. Those who live with a fool die in captivity. The friends of fools sleep tied to, there's a misspelling there. Not tied as in the water. Tied as in bound. Sleep tied to them. And the wrongdoing of fools harm even their own relatives. When a fool lights a fire, he goes too close to it and gets burnt. When a fool starts a fight, she goes too close to it and gets knocked down. Those who walk with the wise share their praise, but those who walk in the company of a fool create an evil odor in the street. What? Those who walk with the fool create in the street. Stink up the joint. I love it. Listen to the wisdom that comes to you from your African ancestors. It is better for a serpent to be in the house than a fool who comes often. And I also love that they trying to say a fool can be male or female. When a fool starts a fire, they are burnt by it. And when a fool starts a fight, she gets too close and gets knocked down. what? And then they say, those who walk with the wise share their praise, but those who walk in the company of a fool create an evil odor in the street. It is so important that we monitor, that we are circumspect about the people that we spend our time with, that we are careful about the company we keep, because when we keep the wrong company, it will negatively affect us. We have to be the wise. We have to be those people who are prepared to rebalance the scales. This is powerful. This is powerful. Are there comments, by the way, on these maxims, or are they just listening?
No, someone's saying his past is speaking to him. It's good to know that, there's words that respond to what he's thinking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's go to the third one. Listen to this one. Listen to this one. And this is on money and greed. On money and greed. Don't be greedy lest your name send forth an offensive odor. Greed brings conflict and fighting in a house. It takes all sense of shame, mercy, and trust from one's heart and causes turmoil in a family. Those who are greedy do not like to give to those who gave to them. They do not consider tomorrow, for they are only concerned with the moment. There is no end to the wrong done when money and greed are together. Listen to this piece. Money is the trap that the netter placed on earth for those not in balance, so that they would worry each day. But the netter gives it to those who he favors in order to take worry away from their heart. I don't know why it translated this way. You know what actually happened? I actually had to speak to my computer to write this down. And I'm seeing now that it didn't recognize what I said. Greed and money, and about how people who are greedy are dangerous to those around them. Are dangerous to those around them. And that they don't even want to give. Don't you know people like that? Meet those who are greedy, do not like to give to those who gave to them. That's what you should say. That's exactly what you should say. It's a trap that the netter placed on earth for those who are not in balance, so that they would worry each day. Are you worried about money every day? Perhaps you should recognize that if you're doing the work of balance, you'll be provided. And that's what this text is saying. I love this particular one as well. Let's go to the fourth one. We're coming to a close shortly. Take a look at this one. Whoops, wait. Go back. Oh, I'm not going to play this video now. I just want to remind you that when we talk about money and greed, I was going to actually play a segment of a video where you hear crying, children who were brought to the border of the United States from the most difficult situations, who are struggling. We have a crisis that has continued to occur, where tens of thousands of unaccompanied children are arriving at the doorstep of the United States. Can you imagine how desperate you must be to let your minor child go to a country that they are not welcomed in and just leave them at the border? I just saw a video. In fact, it's almost like a heat map video where a woman climbs over the fence and drops her children. Can you imagine how desperate you must be to send your children to a place not knowing? That is how dangerous, how violent, how desperate. And this country does not see fit to assist its neighbors. In many instances, that are preying upon those people in those neighborhoods, in those countries. And those drug cartels are empowered by people who are actually having a great time with drugs in the United States. So in some ways, the United States, the American appetite for drugs is one of the things that are destabilizing for it. We need to do more. We need to do more. Let's go to number 4.
They said what you're saying is so powerful it set the alarm off.
I think this is the 4th one. I think this is the 5th one, right?
That's the 5th one.
This is the 5th one. Take a listen to this one. I like this one because it reminds us that there are no there are no tiny matters. Listen to this. A small snake has poison. A small river has its dangers. A small fire should be feared. A small document has great benefit. A small cord binds. A small truth defends its owner. A small lie causes trouble for one who tells it. A little food gives health to one who has it. A little saving leads to wealth. The little heart sustains its owner. A little good news makes the heart happy. A little dew gives life to the fields. A little wind carries the boat along. A little bee brings honey. A small locust lays waste to the grapevine. A small wrong leads towards death, and a small good deed is not hidden from the netter. Thus, many are the small things that deserve respect, but few are the great things that merit admiration. Are you waiting for something big to happen in your life? Are you feeling like you're in a rut, like the day seems exactly the same? Well, perhaps it's because you have not been a steward of the small. That you have not gotten to the point where you recognize that you can do a little bit every day and it will get you closer to your goal. This is a really powerful thing. It's saying if you're going to live a divinely balanced life, you have to sweat the small stuff. Pay attention to the details. Do a little bit every single moment. I know people, and I struggle with this myself. I know people that when they have a task to accomplish, they're looking for like large swaths of time to get it done. I know people that are waiting to hit the lotto. I know people who think that when they hit the number, they go things that they weren't able to do the small. You'll be surprised how they end up in the end. That's what this is a reminder of. A small fire should be feared. But we have to also remember that a little bee brings honey. And a little good news makes the heart happy. Sweat the small stuff. Spend time with people. The tiny moments, the small moments, the moments that might seem inconsequential are so important. And in the larger scheme of things, they actually loom much larger than we could possibly know. You know, I'm approaching 1 year, the 1 year anniversary of my father's death. And those of you who know me know that I'm pretty busy, right? I'm always busy. There's always something I should. I know that part of the challenge that I had before my father, it was clear that my father was ill, is that I hadn't spent a lot of time with my parents. And it was something that I felt real guilt for. I was the child, the sibling, the son that they didn't see very often. And most of what I do for my living is that I'm a consultant. And it was very interesting to me that I got this long-term consulting gig a few miles from. And I was kind of upset because the way the gig worked is that I would work for hours, then have like 4 hours off, and then work 3 hours in the evening, twice a week. What am I going to do in Long Island with a big gap of time in the middle. I did not recognize at the time that the Neteru were setting in motion the time I needed to spend with my parents for simply go to their house and just spend. We wouldn't do big things. We'd eat some food, we'd watch some TV, we'd talk with each other twice a week. And that was then diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I had been spending time with him. In fact, in the wonderful wisdom of the divine, the place that I was going to work was literally less than a mile away from the place that he needed to go with his doctors. So then I knew exactly where to take him, and I became the caretaker of his health. Had that not happened, I would be ensconced in severe regret right now. It forced me to spend the small moments with my parents. Be a master of the small. Because if you do a little bit each day, if you are careful and caring about the small moments you spend with the people that you care about, if you are careful about the cents instead of just the dollars, you're going to be surprised where you end up. Remember, a small snake has poison, and a little good news makes the heart happy. I really love these maxims. I think that they're beautiful, and I want to really implore you that you should be reading them. Crack open the Seba'it literature so that you are able to absolutely balance the scales in your life. Our ancestors tried to give us the prescription for divine balance. And if you focus on the teachings of the Seba'it, of the teachings of texts like the Maxims of Ptahhotep, the Instructions of Amenemhat, and even the book of Phebhor, you're actually going to find that you will balance the scales. That when you are weighed, you will be able to say, I may not be perfect, but I was a master of the small moments. I focused on giving to people around me. I was great to people and took care of around me. That the people that I spent my time with were the people that were also trying to be important and do for people in our community. Read the Seba'it literature so that you can hear directly from your African ancestors about how they gave civilization to the world, about how they lived lives in divine balance. I want to say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Please crack open the Seba'it literature. And you should know that if you want to look for the book of Phebhor, someone's going to ask this because I don't know if I made it as clear. The best place for you to read a very well done rendition of it is in the Hosea by Malenga. That's a really good place to read it. You're going to see sections of it in that group of texts called Ancient Egyptian Literature as well. You're going to have to search for Papyrus Insinger in that instance. But please go ahead and take lessons directly from our African ancestors.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Do you follow the long or short chronology of Kemet?
I'm not aware of long or short chronology. There's just a chronology. I'm not sure what that means, long or short chronology. That was in its most powerful stages for over 3,000 years. But the story of Kemet is one that is much older. Kemet is simply the flourishing of African civilization on what we would today call the northeast coast of Africa. But look deep into the heart of Africa and see the antecedents of Kemetic excellence. So that is how I would describe it. I'm not sure what he means by long or short chronology. He or she means. So that's probably the best way I would describe it. Other questions?
No, but good. A lot to think about.
Yes. Hopefully you will get to the point, family, you are reading these texts and they will assist you in your daily life. We know that it can be difficult, but once you read the text and recognize just how powerful you are, you will succeed. Can we please now go to our final affirmation?
So we have to start going back to our ancient text. I always get the question from people,